The knock came at 2:47 a.m. Layla sat upright in her bed, heart pounding in her chest. The pain in her bones had kept her half awake, but this sound, sharp, deliberate, cut through the silence like a scream. Another knock. Louder. 3 hard bangs. She grabbed her robe, her hands trembling from both weakness and fear. Ever since the diagnosis, the nights had become longer, heavier. But this was different. She wasn't expecting anyone. And definitely not at this hour. Dragging her feet through the cold floor of the small rented flat, she moved toward the door. "Who is it?" she called out, her voice rough, dry. Silence. Then a soft voice, muffled, low. "Please. I didn't know where else to go." Layla froze. Her fingers curled around the edge of the kitchen counter as her mind caught up with what she had just heard. That voice. She hadn't heard it in months. Not since the day Adil walked out without warning. He hadn't even looked back. She stood still for a moment, the edges of her memory pulling into sharp focus, the hospital room, the beeping machines, the smell of antiseptic, and the weight of his silence. The day she told him about the cancer, he looked at her like she was already dead. And then he left. The old wooden handle creaked as she unlocked the door, her breathing shallow, rage and disbelief rising inside her like a tide. She opened it, and the world tipped sideways. Adil stood there, but not as she remembered. His face was gaunt, hair disheveled, clothes wrinkled and stained with dirt. But what struck her most was the child clinging to him. A little girl, no older than 6. She was barefoot, her eyes glassy with fear, holding a small backpack in both arms like it was a lifeline. "This is Zara," Adil said, his voice cracking. "She's yours." Layla's entire body went cold. "What did you just say?" "She's your daughter," he whispered. The sentence didn't make sense. Her daughter? She had no children. She had never even been pregnant. "I don't understand," Layla said, stepping back instinctively. Adil turned to glance over his shoulder as if someone might be watching, then looked back at her, his face pale. "Please, just let us in. I'll explain everything. I swear." Despite everything he had done, something in his eyes made her move aside. She didn't trust him. She didn't believe him. But the child, she looked scared. And Layla knew fear. She saw it every day in her own reflection. The door shut behind them with a soft click. Inside the apartment. The apartment was dimly lit, its small kitchen and living room separated by only a counter. Layla led them to the old couch. The girl sat quietly, knees pulled to her chest. Adil remained standing. Layla wrapped her robe tighter around herself. "Talk." He ran a hand through his hair. "There's no easy way to say this. But I wasn't who you thought I was, Layla. Not fully." She didn't say anything. Adil kept going. "Before we met, I was involved with someone. It was short, messy. She left without telling me she was pregnant." He paused, then looked toward the girl. "Zara was born. I only found out 2 years ago. Her mother died. A car accident. Zara was in the back seat but survived. I brought her in. But I didn't tell you." Layla's jaw tightened. "Why now? Why after everything? You left me to fight cancer alone. And now you show up in the middle of the night with a child you never told me about?" "I know. I was a coward. I thought I couldn't handle the cancer. And then things got worse." He leaned in. "Layla, someone's after us. Zara saw something she wasn't supposed to. And now they're trying to silence us both." Layla frowned. "What are you talking about?" Adil looked at the child again. She doesn't talk much. Not since that night. But she drew something. And they found out. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. With trembling fingers, he handed it to Layla. It was a child's drawing. Rough, simple. But chilling. A man with a gun, a black car, and a woman lying on the ground in red. Layla's breath caught. She saw someone get murdered, Adil whispered. And they know she saw. The past returns. Layla sank into the chair. Her mind reeled. She didn't know whether to scream, cry, or throw both of them out. She had spent the last 7 months fighting for her life, radiation, chemotherapy, hospitals, endless nights of pain. Alone. Forgotten. And now he returns, running from something unspeakable, dumping a child, a daughter. In her lap? She needs protection, Adil said. I didn't know where else to go. Layla looked at Zara. The girl hadn't spoken a word. Her small fingers clutched the drawing, and her eyes scanned the room nervously, like she expected someone to burst in at any second. I'm not well, Layla said finally. Her voice was softer now. You know that. I know, he said. But you're the only person I trust. She almost laughed. Trust? That word felt like poison in her mouth. I'm not her mother, Layla said. You can't just leave her here. I'm not asking you to take her forever, he replied. Just until I can figure out what to do. I have to go. I'm being followed. Layla shook her head. Adil. But he was already moving toward the door. He turned once more, his face pale and terrified. Just keep her safe. Please. Then he slipped out into the night, the door slamming behind him. The girl who wouldn't speak. Layla stood in silence, the room suddenly too quiet, too still. Zara sat curled up on the couch, her big eyes following every movement. I'm not your mom, Layla said, almost to herself. Zara said nothing. The clock ticked. Somewhere outside, a dog barked. Layla moved to the window, carefully pulling the curtain. There was no sign of Adil. No cars. Just the empty street lit by flickering orange streetlights. She walked back and knelt in front of the girl. Zara. Do you understand me? Zara nodded slowly. Layla gently touched her hand. Are you hungry? A pause. Then a tiny nod. In the kitchen, Layla warmed up the leftover soup from dinner. Her body ached from standing. The side effects of treatment hadn't eased, and tonight's shock wasn't helping. She placed the bowl in front of Zara, who ate in small, careful bites. Did you draw that picture? Layla asked. Zara paused, then nodded. Was that your mother? Another nod. Tears burned at the corners of Layla's eyes. She blinked them away. And the man with the gun? Do you know who he is? This time, Zara didn't respond. She looked down at her soup. Layla didn't push further. She was too exhausted, and the pain in her spine was back. She lay down on the couch across from Zara, watching the girl slowly drift to sleep. So many questions spun in her head. Why had Adil really come? Who was chasing them? Was this child truly hers in some strange, impossible way? And what would happen now? Cliffhanger ending, Part 1. At 4:12 a.m. Just as the sky began to lighten ever so slightly, Layla's phone buzzed on the table. She reached for it with half-shut eyes. No name on the screen. Just a number. She answered. A distorted voice, mechanical and cold, spoke just 4 words. She saw too much. The line went dead. Layla stared at the phone, frozen, as Zara shifted in her sleep. Somewhere far off, a car engine roared and faded into the night. The call ended. Layla sat in silence, phone still pressed to her ear long after the line went dead. She saw too much. The words echoed in her mind like a warning carved into stone. The voice was untraceable, warped and robotic, but unmistakably threatening. Whoever they were, they had found her. Found them. And they knew Zara was here. A cold sweat broke across her back. She forced herself to breathe slowly, to stay calm. Panic wouldn't help, not now. She turned toward the small couch where Zara lay curled under a blanket. The child's face was still, peaceful in sleep. Completely unaware that something, or someone, was closing in. Layla had survived the worst kind of news a person could receive. She had endured chemo, baldness, weakness, and months of staring death in the face with no one by her side. But this was different. This was danger not just to herself, but to a child. And though she barely knew Zara, something primal rose inside her. She would not let anything happen to this girl. Morning shadows. By morning, the air in the apartment felt heavier, as though the walls themselves were listening. Layla hadn't slept. Every sound outside the window kept her alert: footsteps, tires on gravel, the creak of the neighbor's door. At 6:45 a.m., Zara finally stirred. She sat up, rubbing her eyes. Her hair was tangled, her small hands clutched the frayed corner of the blanket. "Good morning," Layla said softly. Zara didn't answer but looked at her warily. Layla handed her a glass of warm milk and a piece of bread. "You don't have to talk if you don't want to. Just eat." Zara took the glass with both hands and sipped slowly. Layla studied her. Despite the silence, the girl's eyes held stories. Haunted ones. And yet, she sat there quietly, as if used to being in danger. "How long were you with your father?" Layla asked. Zara looked up. Her lips parted slightly. She lifted 4 fingers. "For years?" A slow nod. "And before that? Did you live with your mother?" Zara hesitated. Then she nodded again and looked away. Layla didn't push further. The girl needed safety. Comfort. Time. But they might not have much of it. Unwanted visitors. By noon, Layla had convinced herself the call was just a bluff. Maybe a prank. Maybe Adil messing with her, though even he wouldn't sink that low. Then came the knock. Not a polite one. Not uncertain. This was different. 3 sharp, heavy bangs. Like a command. Zara froze where she sat. Layla motioned silently and the girl crawled behind the couch, hiding as if she'd done it before. Another knock. Layla crept toward the door and pressed her eye to the peephole. A man in a black coat stood there, tall, clean-shaven, hands behind his back. He wasn't a neighbor. She'd never seen him before. He knocked again. "Miss Layla?" His voice was calm. Too calm. Layla didn't respond. "I'm looking for a man named Adil Khan. He was seen entering this building last night. We believe he may be hiding something valuable." A pause. "If you're in there, we'd just like to ask a few questions." Layla backed away from the door slowly, heart pounding. The man lingered. Then she heard footsteps walking away, slow, deliberate. A minute later, a black car pulled away from the curb. She stood there for a long time before her legs gave out, and she sank to the floor. Hospital memories. That night, Layla couldn't stop thinking about the hospital, the beeping machines, the empty chair beside her bed, and the last day she saw Adil before he disappeared. She had called him after her second round of chemo. Asked him if he could come. Just for a little while. He didn't pick up. Didn't text. Didn't even read her message. He vanished. And now he wanted her to risk her life for a child she didn't even know? And yet, she had let the girl in. Let her sleep on her couch. Fed her. Protected her. The truth was, some part of Layla, perhaps the part that had almost died in that hospital, had come alive again with the child's presence. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was needed. A clue in the drawing. Later that evening, Layla sat at the table, examining the child's drawing again. The man with the gun. The woman on the ground. A car with tinted windows. But something in the background caught her attention now. A shape that looked like a sign. Scribbled letters. She took a magnifying glass and leaned in. Under the crayon strokes, there were letters, Alto, something. Maybe, Altona. It hit her suddenly. Altona Drive. That was a small industrial road near the East Harbor, lined with old warehouses. She remembered it because Adil had once worked security in that area, briefly, after getting laid off from the bank. Zara, she called gently. This place, she pointed at the drawing, do you remember it? The girl peered over and nodded slowly. You were there? A soft, yes, escaped her lips. It was the first word she had spoken. Layla's breath caught. What happened there? Zara's eyes filled with tears, and she pointed again at the woman in red. My mama, she whispered. Then she climbed into Layla's lap and cried. Big, silent sobs that shook her tiny body. Layla held her tightly. She didn't need to know everything to know enough. Something had happened at that place. And someone was willing to kill to keep it buried. A visitor from the past. The next day, the doorbell rang again, but this time, it was someone familiar. Samira. Layla's old college friend. She hadn't seen her in years. I heard you were sick, Samira said, holding out a bag of groceries. I'm sorry it took me so long. Layla blinked, overwhelmed. You picked a strange time to come back. They hugged awkwardly. Inside, Samira's eyes went straight to Zara. And who's this? Layla hesitated. It's complicated. Samira stayed for tea. They talked in hushed tones, and Layla found herself revealing bits of the story. Not everything. But enough. When she showed Samira the drawing, her friend went pale. What? Layla asked. I think I've seen this girl before, Samira said. A missing persons flyer. Months ago. Layla's eyes widened. Where? A news bulletin. It wasn't circulated much. But yes, I remember. A woman and child in a car crash. They said the girl disappeared afterward. Zara looked up, suddenly alert. Layla's stomach turned. They were likely never meant to find the girl alive. A ticking clock. That night, another call came. No voice this time. Just breathing. Slow. Deliberate. Then the line disconnected. Layla locked every door and window, heart racing. Samira stayed the night, refusing to leave them alone. Zara slept in Layla's room, clutching her small backpack. Layla opened it while she slept. Inside were a few clothes, a cracked plastic toy horse, and a cell phone. Dead. She charged it quietly. Once it powered on, a video popped up. It was grainy, shaky, clearly taken from behind a wall. But the sound was clear. Voices arguing. Then a woman screaming. A loud pop. A child crying. And a man's voice saying, "No one sees this. Ever." Layla froze. Who recorded this? Was it Zara? And if this was on the phone, what else did it hold? The slip of paper trembled in Layla's hand. The words written in red ink bled slightly in the humid night air. You should have stayed quiet. She closed the curtains with shaking fingers, every instinct screaming at her to run. But where would she go? Whoever was behind this already knew where she lived. They had erased the phone's contents remotely. Something only professionals could do. And they had been close enough to leave a note without making a sound. In her mind, the pieces began to fit together, one terrifying image at a time. Zara hadn't just witnessed something terrible. She had survived something someone wanted erased. And now, both of them were caught in the middle. Whispers in the walls. Samira was already up, boiling water for tea. She saw Layla's face and went still. What happened? Layla showed her the note without a word. Samira's hands trembled. Layla, this is way beyond us now. You need to go to the police. I can't. I don't even know what I'm reporting. A strange man at the door? A child who barely speaks? A drawing? A dead phone? She paused. Do you think they'd believe me? Samira looked at Zara, still sleeping. You have to try. No, Layla's voice was firm. We need to go to Altana Drive. Whatever happened to Zara, it started there. The warehouse. They left just after noon. Layla parked 3 blocks away and walked the rest with Zara and Samira. The area was as desolate as she remembered, old warehouses, broken glass, and graffiti-stained fences. Some buildings were shuttered. One stood half-collapsed. Zara suddenly stopped in her tracks, eyes fixed on a red brick structure at the end of the street. That one, she whispered. The front gate was locked, but the side entrance hung open, its hinges rusted. They entered slowly, careful not to draw attention. Inside, the warehouse was a skeleton, metal beams, a cracked floor, and discarded office furniture. But the real shock was at the back. A large, dark stain on the concrete. Covered partially with dirt. Zara stood at the edge of it. Her small hands trembled. This is where it happened, she whispered. What happened, sweetheart? Samira asked gently. Zara swallowed. Then, for the first time, she opened her mouth to speak fully. Daddy brought Mama here. They were fighting. Mama screamed. A man hit her. Then, loud noise. She didn't move anymore. Then the man looked at me. Tears ran down her cheeks. He said if I screamed, I'd go away too. Layla couldn't breathe. Zara had witnessed her mother's murder. The journal. In one of the drawers of an overturned desk, Samira found something. A small, black leather notebook. It looked old, like it had been hidden for months. The first few pages were filled with numbers, times, dates, codes. The next page had a name written in jagged cursive. Irfan Badia, payment received. Altana site cleared. Another name followed. Danish S, 45K, confirmed. And then. AK, relocation arranged. No contact permitted. Layla froze. AK. Adil Khan. Samira read it too. Your husband? Layla nodded, numb. What is this? She whispered. The notebook detailed what looked like a chain of secret payments, some sort of operation. And Adil was involved. Not just involved, but protected. Zara's past unraveled. Back at the apartment, Layla pieced things together with Samira. The woman Zara called Mama may not have been Adil's wife. Possibly a witness. Possibly someone involved. But one thing was clear now, Zara was never meant to survive. Adil had dropped her at Layla's door not out of love, but because she was evidence. And Layla? She was disposable. What if he left her with me to keep her out of sight? Layla asked aloud. What if he thought no one would look for her in a cancer survivor's home? Samira was quiet for a long time. Then she said, there's only one way to know the truth. How? Find Adil. The trap. Layla used the one number she had for Adil, the one that still didn't accept calls. Instead, she texted. I know about Altana. You better come clean. Or I do. There was no response. But at midnight, her doorbell rang. This time, she was ready. She had left Zara with Samira at a friend's place. She opened the door with her phone camera already recording. Adil stood there, his face shadowed but unmistakable. You shouldn't have done that, he said. What did you do, Adil? Layla asked. Her voice was calm. Too calm. Adil tried to push past her, but she stood firm. I know about the notebook. The warehouse. Zara. His face changed. You have no idea what you're talking about. I know enough. Then Adil said something she would never forget. You think you're the only one who was dying, Layla? You think I wanted any of this? She blinked. What are you talking about? They were going to kill me. I had debts. I borrowed from the wrong people. When they offered a way out, I took it. I just had to keep quiet. Move things around. Drive someone to a place. Drop off a kid. Layla stepped back in horror. You helped kill someone? I didn't know it would happen like that. You left your wife while she was dying. Then handed over a child like garbage. She's not my daughter. Layla's hand trembled. But you still used me to hide her. Adil paused. I thought you'd be dead soon anyway. What's one secret in a dying woman's house? The ticking clock. After Adil left, stormed off into the night, Layla called Samira. We need to go to the police. They had the notebook. The story. The child. But before they could act, Zara's phone rang. The one in her backpack. The one they thought was dead. Samira answered. A cold voice came through, nice try. But the girl doesn't belong to you. Then the line cut. Samira turned pale. They know where she is. The final choice. Layla and Samira raced to the apartment where Zara was hiding. But the door was already open. Inside, silence. Then they heard crying. Zara was under the bed, terrified. Layla pulled her out and held her tightly. Someone had searched the place, but hadn't taken her. Why? Then she noticed something new taped to the mirror. A flash drive. They played it on Layla's laptop. It showed security footage. Men carrying bags, heavy bags, out of a building. And then, the red car. Zara's mother being dragged. Adil was in the background. Not just present, he was smiling. Layla turned to Zara. We're going to end this. For your mother. For you. The mountain road twisted like a coiled serpent, each turn narrower than the last. Fog hung thick in the air, swallowing their headlights and painting the trees in ghostly outlines. Layla tightened her grip on the steering wheel, her heart pounding like a war drum. Zara sat in the back, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Samira stared silently out the window, her mind as full of questions as the dark forest was full of secrets. They were headed toward the coordinates from the flash drive, coordinates someone wanted them to find. But why? Was it a trap? Or, a final clue? Layla didn't know. But she was done running. Whatever had happened to Zara's mother, whatever Adil had helped cover up, she would uncover it. Even if it cost her everything. The lodge. After 5 hours of driving into the mountains, they arrived at a weather-worn wooden lodge that sat alone near the edge of a cliff. It was supposed to be abandoned. But a faint flicker of light glowed in one of the windows. Samira placed a hand on Layla's shoulder. Someone's inside. Layla nodded. Then we knock. They stepped out into the cold night air. Leaves crunched underfoot as they walked toward the front door. Before Layla could raise her hand to knock, the door creaked open. An old man with a cane stood in the doorway, his face wrinkled and wary. "You shouldn't be here." Layla hesitated. "We were told to come." "The map, someone left us coordinates." The man's expression changed instantly. His eyes darted to the forest, then back to her. "Did you bring the girl?" Zara peeked from behind Layla's legs. The man's eyes softened. "Come inside. Quickly." The keeper of secrets. His name was Haroon, and he had lived on the mountain for over 30 years. The lodge, he explained, once belonged to his brother, now dead. But his brother hadn't died peacefully. He was a fixer, Haroon said, stirring a pot of old tea. He worked with powerful people. When they needed things to disappear, documents, evidence, sometimes, people, they came to him. He sat across from them at the cracked kitchen table. I warned him it would catch up with him. And it did. Samira leaned forward. Was Adil one of them? Haroon gave a bitter smile. Adil was a delivery boy. Nothing more. But he knew things. Saw things. Too much for someone that disposable. He poured them tea. I was here the night they brought the girl's mother. Layla froze. You saw her? I saw the car. I saw the panic. My brother said she was a threat. She had recordings. Emails. Names of everyone involved in their little operation. She thought she could trade that for safety. He sipped his tea slowly. But there's no safety when you deal with shadows. Layla felt her stomach turn. What happened to her? She was killed. Quickly. Then buried where no one would find her. But your husband, he broke the code. He refused to silence the girl. That's why they made him disappear too. The shallow grave. Haroon handed them a torn map from a drawer. This is where she's buried. Not far. But be careful. If they left the map for you, it means they want you to find her. Layla frowned. Why? Maybe they want to tie up loose ends. Or maybe, Haroon looked directly at Zara. Maybe they want her back. Zara's eyes widened, but she didn't speak. That night, none of them slept much. The wind howled outside, and every creak of the wood felt like footsteps. At dawn, they set out for the place marked on the map. The trail was steep, overgrown, and hidden behind fallen branches and moss-covered rocks. After an hour of climbing, they found it. A shallow patch of disturbed earth near an old hunting cabin. Samira dropped to her knees, brushing the dirt away. They didn't have to dig long. A scrap of cloth appeared first. Then bone. A bracelet still clinging to a delicate wrist. Zara gasped. That's Mama's. Tears streamed down her face. Layla pulled her close. They had found her. Zara's mother wasn't just a ghost, she was a buried truth. The final recording. Inside the old hunting cabin was a rusted metal locker. It took both Layla and Samira to pry it open. Inside was a waterproof case. A USB stick. Layla inserted it into her laptop, heart pounding. A video began to play. Zara's mother sat in a dim room, bruises on her face. If you're watching this, I'm gone, she said, voice trembling. My name is Fatima Banu. I was part of a cleaning operation in Karachi. We were told to erase digital records, surveillance footage, identities. She glanced off camera. But then they killed a journalist. They said it was to protect the country. Then a family. Then a child. Fatima's eyes burned with rage. It was never about safety. It was about power. We were erasing anyone who got too close. And now I'm next. She looked directly into the camera. My daughter, Zara, is all that matters now. Keep her safe. Expose them. Make it mean something. The screen went black. Samira was silent. Layla wiped her eyes. She tried to do the right thing. And they murdered her. The fire in the woods. As they left the cabin, the wind shifted. Smoke. Layla turned. The lodge was burning. Flames roared up the walls. Haroon was nowhere to be seen. Samira cursed under her breath. They knew we were here. Layla grabbed Zara's hand. We need to move. They ran into the forest, ducking behind trees and boulders. Footsteps crunched behind them. Voices called out in a language too soft to catch, but the tone was sharp. Urgent. Layla clutched the USB. They wanted it. Not just to hide the past, but to prevent a future scandal. But she wouldn't let it go. Betrayal at the border. After 2 days of hiding in the woods, they reached a highway and hitchhiked to the nearest town. From there, they bought burner phones and contacted a journalist Layla once knew from her hospital days. His name was Naveed, a reporter who once exposed a government corruption case and nearly vanished for it. When Layla explained everything, he agreed to meet. At a rundown cafe, she handed him the USB. He watched the video and paled. Do you know what this is? He whispered. This is bigger than just one man. It connects officials, security agencies, maybe even ministers. If I publish this, I could be killed. You're not the only one, Layla said softly. But before they could finish their tea, a van screeched to a halt outside. Men with radios stormed in. Layla pushed Zara under the table. Samira grabbed Layla's hand. Out the back. They ran, knocking over chairs, dodging panicked waiters, and burst through the kitchen exit. Bullets cracked behind them. They dove into a construction site, hid behind stacks of bricks, holding their breath as boots pounded past them. When the noise faded, they emerged, covered in dust but alive. Naveed wasn't so lucky. They later found out he'd been arrested for national security violations. The story never aired. Nowhere is safe. Layla knew they were running out of time. They needed international help. She uploaded the footage to an encrypted cloud, shared it with 5 journalists across the globe, and included a message. If I go missing, publish this. It's real. It's truth. A child's life depends on it. Then she turned to Samira. We need to leave the country. Samira agreed. But how? They had no passports. No allies. Only a child whose life was now the price of a buried secret. And then, one night, a letter arrived, no return address. Inside was a plane ticket. 3 of them. One way. Destination, Istanbul. And a single line written in neat black ink. Truth survives where light finds it. Get her to safety. The hum of the airplane engine was a dull roar in Layla's ears. She forced herself to breathe evenly, her knuckles white from gripping Zara's small hand. Samira sat beside them, eyes darting nervously between passengers. That man, the one with the scar, was still there. Just a few rows behind. Watching. Layla's mind raced. Who was he? Why was he here? And more importantly, how had he found them? She could feel the heavy weight of the secret they carried, the secret that could destroy powerful men, dismantle shadow networks, and topple governments. And yet here they were, flying into the unknown with an enemy on their heels. A silent pursuer. Layla tried to stay calm, but every glance backward from the scarred man sent a fresh wave of panic through her chest. She whispered to Samira, we have to find out who he is. Samira nodded, her voice barely audible. I'll check the cameras on this side. Using her phone's camera, Samira scanned the cabin surreptitiously, capturing the man's face and quietly sharing it with a secure contact she'd made overseas, a private investigator named Omar. Minutes later, Omar's reply flashed. Man identified, Faisal Mirza. High-level intelligence operative linked to covert government agency. Known for off-the-record, cleanup jobs. Layla swallowed hard. A cleanup job. That meant their enemies were no ordinary criminals, they had government resources. Zara tugged at Layla's sleeve, sensing the tension. Mama, is he going to hurt us? No, baby. I promise. We're safe. Layla wasn't sure if she believed it herself. Landing in Istanbul. The plane touched down just after dawn. Istanbul's sprawling airport buzzed with the usual mix of hurried travelers, unfamiliar languages, and the aroma of coffee and spices. Layla had only one goal: get Zara and Samira to safety and find help to expose the truth. But Faisal was already one step ahead. As they passed through customs, he was just behind, his expression unreadable. The meeting. Their contact in Istanbul was a journalist named Denise, known for fearless investigations and a network of international whistleblowers. Denise met them in a quiet cafe near the Bosphorus. She listened closely as Layla recounted the story: the warehouse, the notebook, the mountain grave, the video, and the man who betrayed them. Denise's eyes darkened. This is bigger than you realize. You're dealing with a shadow government inside the government. She leaned in. If you want to stay alive, you need proof and allies. Layla nodded. We start by exposing Faisal Mirza's operations. And to do that, we need to bait him. Setting the trap. They created a plan. Denise would leak false information suggesting they had found new evidence, something Faisal desperately wanted to erase. The goal was to lure Faisal into the open. Layla hesitated but agreed. The stakes were high. The break-in. That night, the apartment where Layla stayed with Zara and Samira was broken into. Shadows moved in the dark. Drawers were rifled through. Papers scattered on the floor. But the attackers missed one thing: a hidden recorder. Confrontation. The next day, Faisal sent a message. A simple text to Layla's burner phone. Stop digging or lose everything. Denise wasn't intimidated. We strike back. They arranged a meeting with Faisal, public, well-lit, and recorded. The truth unfolds. At the cafe, Faisal arrived, calm, controlled. Layla confronted him with the footage, the notebook, the mountain grave. Faisal's mask slipped. He confessed, chillingly. This isn't about power or money. It's about control. To protect the country, some lives are sacrifices. We thought we were cleaning up the mess. He paused. But you ruined it. You brought light. Layla saw the flicker of regret in his eyes. A shocking twist. Just as Faisal began to speak about Zara's mother, a phone rang. Zara answered it, a call from an unknown number. A man's voice said, "She's not your daughter." The room fell silent. Layla's world shattered. Denise grabbed the phone. Who is this? The voice replied, "The real Zara Khan is alive." Layla sat frozen, her hands trembling around Zara's small fingers. The phone call. Words echoed in her mind like thunder. She's not your daughter. The room felt impossibly small, air thick with disbelief and rising panic. Samira's eyes searched Layla's face for answers, but there were none. Denise broke the silence, voice low and urgent. We need to find out who the real Zara Khan is, and why this girl is with you. A race against time. The days that followed were a whirlwind of encrypted calls, secret meetings, and dangerous inquiries. Denise contacted international agencies and underground networks. Salman, the mysterious man who'd helped them, began decrypting old emails and surveillance footage. The more they uncovered, the darker the story grew. The girl with two names. It turned out Zara was not the biological daughter of Fatima Banu but a child swapped at birth in a sinister operation to protect the real Zara Khan, the true whistleblower's daughter, from imminent danger. The girl Layla had been caring for was a child rescued from another tragedy, abandoned and vulnerable, taken in by Fatima and Adil as a way to protect her from those hunting their family. The true Zara. The real Zara Khan had been hidden in a safe house abroad, under constant guard. Her existence was a secret even from most government officials. Layla and Samira, with Denise and Salman's help, arranged a secret meeting. A tearful reunion. At an undisclosed location, Layla finally met the real Zara. A young woman, fierce and fragile, with eyes that told 1,000 stories of loss and hope. Their eyes locked. Layla felt the crushing weight of all she'd been through, the betrayals, the pain, the love that had driven her to protect the child in her arms. She realized that motherhood was more than biology, it was a promise. Facing the enemy. But their fight wasn't over. Faisal Mirza and his network were closing in. Denise managed to leak the evidence to trusted journalists worldwide, igniting a storm of outrage. Governments were forced to investigate. The final stand. In a tense showdown, Layla and Samira were offered protection in exchange for testimony. Layla's heart ached, could she trust the system that had failed them? But for Zara and every other innocent caught in this web, she chose hope. The lesson. In the end, Layla stood before an international panel, recounting the story that began with betrayal and ended with courage. She spoke not just of survival but of resilience, the power of truth, and the human spirit's ability to endure. Her closing words echoed. No darkness is too deep for the light of truth to shine. And sometimes, the greatest families are those we choose to protect, not those we're born into. Epilogue. Zara, the child Layla raised, thrived in a new home filled with love and safety. The real Zara Khan became a symbol of courage, inspiring whistleblowers and survivors worldwide. Layla found peace, not in forgetting the past but in transforming it into a beacon for others.